So Fallout 76 got a new update, at least on PC. And yes, I know, I could already see you guys angrily commenting down below, but JuiceHead, you just made a video saying you're bored of Fallout 76. Well yeah, that could be true, and the game could still get an update and I could still cover the update. Plus, to be frank, what they've actually done with this update is a major step in the right direction. There's a lot of fixes to the right things, and a lot of actually really cool features added. Unfortunately, it took a month, but either way, let's actually jump into what's new. So first and foremost, this update is unique in the fact that it's going to have a discrepancy between when it's released on PC and Xbox One. So basically, they're doing additional bug testing on Xbox One, so it's not coming out until this Thursday, even though it's out right now on PC. The reason being, on Xbox One, it's not as easy to do a last-minute bug fix, so they're making sure the update doesn't create any new or additional bugs, and thus there is that time delay. So what's new? Well, the camp is one area of a lot of change and new features. The camp has gotten a mini overhaul. Now when placing down your camp, there's going to be a phenomenon where the camp will replace all of the other items around it. This mostly being trees, rocks, foliage, otherwise things that would have prevented you from placing this down. It's just going to outright remove those objects. You could see it in the little preview what's going to be removed, and honestly it works pretty well. I'm sure there's going to be some glitch associated with this, but I couldn't find one in my limited use of it, and it definitely made a big difference. It was a lot easier to place down my camp on its foundations using this compared to the previous patch. But actually there's a bit more. Now when connecting to a server, if your camp is going to be returned to your inventory as you connect, the server will alert you and give you the option to connect to a different server. I tried numerous times and nobody was ever intersecting, so I'm just going to take Bethesda's word on it. It seems like it is working based on people positively talking about it. But also, one of the really cool updates to the camp is now as you're placing items down, you can toggle in between placeable items and non-placeable items. This is something you could do at most of the crafting tables, toggle between craftable items and not, but now you could also do it at camps, and it is immensely useful because a lot of the items in camps especially have plans associated with them, so you can quickly see what you're actually able to build. But then one that I think is going to be taken in not so positive of a light, as you go through the camp in-game, you can see the various variants of different items, but now as you're doing this, you can actually purchase those things through the atomic shop right then and there. You can even see what it's going to look like as it's placed down in your camp, and then go through the purchase menu to actually place it down. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to really like this because I feel like it's the most encroaching we have of the atomic shop in day-to-day gameplay, but for me, honestly, it's not that big of a deal, and it actually is kind of useful if you are interested in buying something because you could get a much better view of what it's going to look like. There's a few other miscellaneous changes to the camps, like windmills giving you more power, but one of the other big ones is now when placing objects at a workshop, it will no longer give you experience. This is another significant nerf to workshops along the line of a bunch of other pretty considerable nerfs. I'm not really sure why they feel like workshops are overpowered. I mean, some people could obviously abuse this to farm experience, but considering there's literal exploits that give you thousands upon thousands of experience points, I feel like this wasn't the biggest issue. But otherwise, one of the other pretty big features coming with this update is special respecking. So now as you do level up, you're going to be faced with this menu and given the choice to pick a perk card or change one of your special points. This only is available to you after you hit level 50, and it's actually a pretty considerable decision, especially if you're close to level 50. Because if you choose to move one of those special points, that's all you get to do. You don't also get a perk card. I assume you would get a perk pack, but I don't actually know. But then you're going to spend your entire hard-earned level up on just moving one special point from one place to another. I personally kind of like this system. I feel like it's fairly well balanced. It still does have a considerable cost associated with it. It's not like you can easily respec your entire character, but you can make some minor adjustments along the way if you're unhappy with your present build. Outside of that, we got a lot of other pretty big changes on PC, that in the form of 4 fairly major feature additions, that being push-to-talk, a depth of field setting, a field of view setting, and 21:9 or ultra-wide resolution support. So the depth of field and field of view are pretty simple. You're just going to find them in the settings menu and you can mess around with them. The depth of field goes from 70 to 120, so it's probably going to make pretty much everyone happy. If you're one of those oddities out there that likes it under 70, then maybe this will be a little bit weird. And push-to-talk is pretty much what you'd expect, but with this game, you can't really take things like that for granted. You could actually turn it on or off, so have it as open mic or not open mic. By default, it seems like it still is going to be open mic, so whenever you talk into your microphone, the game will project that, but then you can switch it to push to talk and then assign a hotkey to that, and this is remappable, so you could have it to whatever key you'd like. So the way they're labeled in the patch notes, it seems like these are PC exclusive settings, but who knows, maybe come Thursday, some Xbox users will get a push to talk feature. I know that's not as common on that platform, but I mean, if they added it on PC, it's probably fairly easy to add in on the consoles. Outside of that, one of the new additions to the Atomic Shop, which is actually fairly handy if you like looking through it from time to time, is that newly added items are now going to have a new icon on them, so you can quickly differentiate between what's old and what's new. There's a few other miscellaneous changes that are fairly minor that I didn't really talk about, but there also are several balance changes we actually see with this. One such one being that 308 ammo is actually going to drop at a lower rate now, so it seems like this is across the board. Any enemy that was going to drop 308 ammo will drop less of it. On the patch notes, it does say that 308 ammo will drop in stacks of 1 to 5 rather than 12, but after this patch, taking down some enemies, I found more than 5 ammo, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Outside of that, they actually changed the loot table for super mutants somewhat. They reduced the amount of gunpowder you're going to find on them, but they also made it so you will find caps on all super mutants up until level 16. And it seems like this is player level 16. And also now apparently the Scorch Beast Queen lands more often, making it even easier for players to take her down. There's been a few other nerfs to her over the past couple of weeks. One of the other notable changes, in the previous patch, they implemented a AFK timer, so you'll be kicked from a server if you're AFK for 10 minutes. Well, now they've actually upped that to 30 minutes, so you'll be kicked after being AFK for 30 minutes, not just 10 minutes. But then also, and I would actually argue one of the best parts of this patch, we got a lot of bug fixes. And looking at the number here, it seems like it's almost more bug fixes than all of the other patches combined. Now, in fairness, some of these are fairly minor. For example, previously when doing the event Feed the People, it would give everyone on the server food. Apparently that was unintended and that was fixed. A lot of people are kind of upset about that because it made sense. Feed the People gives everyone on a server food. It's feeding the people. But then some of the more major ones, like the carry weight exploit, has finally been fixed. That was a really big deal in this game and it went unfixed for numerous patches. And I guess technically, considering it was in Fallout 4, it went unfixed for one entire game. They also fixed some of those power armor weight issues, and there's a lot in here. I encourage you guys to read through it or just play the game and see what works and what doesn't. Everything definitely wasn't fixed. The game still is fairly buggy, but again, this is a good step in the right direction. Other notable bug fixes are some perks actually work as intended now, so if you do have those perks that allow you to repair things past 100%, it seems like they actually do work and you could start using them. It seems like some of the damage glitches were fixed. There was one where you couldn't do damage in PvP, seemingly because your damage was too high. Seemingly that was fixed. But then the one with explosive weapons where you would kind of heal enemies after attacking them still doesn't seem to work. Quick play on holotapes now works correctly, so when you walk up to a holotape, you can hit the R key and start hearing audio right away. And yeah, that's some of the major ones. So there are still exploits in the game. Some of the duplication exploits weren't fixed. Some of the other experience exploits weren't fixed. But again, there are a lot of freaking bug fixes with this update, and I want to praise Bethesda for that. Is it unacceptable that it took this long to get there? Yeah, it is. I would say the number of bugs that we presently have in the game after this patch is probably where we should have been when the beta started. And yet it basically took a little under 1 month to actually get to that point following the game's release. That's just unacceptable, and Bethesda has tarnished their reputation as a result. With that being said, it is still a good step in the right direction. Hopefully we see more patches like this. They do say they have another one coming on December 18th, so hopefully that will bring just more updates and bug fixes. In their short blurb about it, they say it's going to focus on stability and other concerns raised by the community, but it will be the last patch of this year, and outside of that, looking forward to 2019, which will include new game content, many additional bug fixes, and more changes based on your feedback. So I know many of us are pretty excited to see what they do with some of this new game content, and yeah, otherwise that's a pretty good summary of the patch for Fallout 76 that you got today on PC, and that you will be getting in 2 days on PS4 and Xbox One. So today I finished my last final. It was also the day of my first final. I had 2 finals on the same day and only 2 finals in total. But either way, my semester is over at this point, and that actually affects the channel. First and foremost, you should just see more content. I definitely am going to get back into the Fallout 4 swing. I want to make some mod videos. I want to make a year in review video, look at some of the best mods of the past year for Fallout and actually Skyrim. But even beyond that, I actually kind of want to do some more live streams. One thing I never really explored that I think would be a lot of fun to do is actually the stories of Fallout 76, or even like social experiments, as cringy as that sounds. But just messing around with others in live streams, I think could be a lot of fun. But again, also, as I did mention in my video a couple of days ago, more diversification of content. If you guys are doing finals yourself right now and you do want a psych fun fact to maybe help you out a little bit, first and foremost, I have said numerous times on this channel, a really good way to study for tests is using flashcards. But something important to keep in mind when you're studying for any kind of test is the way you're studying versus how you're actually taking the test. So the way you study is going to be the way you encode that information, the way it is stored in your memory. So if you just have a piece of paper with some of the answers or maybe the definitions on it and you're just reading it over, you're not really encoding that in the most versatile way. A better way would actually be to test yourself on it, but more specifically through recall. Try and make yourself remember that information and see if you do. The reason recall is better is recall memory is just all around a more difficult process for your brain to go through than recognition memory. When you're doing a multiple choice test, as I imagine most of you guys are doing, you're using your recognition memory. You're going to have a question and then a cue in the form of one of those multiple choice answers that will hopefully remind you what the answer is. This as opposed to you just having to freely think of, oh, alright, it's this thing. So keep this in mind while studying, taking advantage of the harder recall while studying and then transmitting that to the easier recognition while testing is typically a pretty good way to perform well. Either way though, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.